Hello and good morning, guys. So over the next few days, like we've been going over the past few days, we're gonna go over the rating specs for Warlocks. There's one more I'd like to show you guys. I know there's more specs out there, but they're not worth mentioning right now, so I'm not going to mention them. But I will mention this one because this is a very big deal to me. This has become my favorite spec in the game right now, so we're gonna go over it, okay? Just like the other ones, this is not gonna be a very well scripted video or edited or nothing cool like that. It's just gonna be me shooting off the hip here and giving you guys my honest opinion on the specs now that TBC is finally out and I've been able to raid as each of these specs, okay? I'll also be building a talent build as well, so you guys can hear that, okay? I'm gonna hope it's just a little shorter video. Instead of hearing me talk a million miles an hour for 30 minutes, you get to hear me talk a million miles an hour for 10 minutes, all right? So anyway, if you don't like something, oh well, this is my opinion. Let's beef it out in the comments, or better yet, in the Warlock Discord, where you can find any and all questions and content regarding Warlocks, and of course the math on these specs. So yeah, let's get started. So today's video will be a spec that some of you may have heard of, while some might also not know about, and I'm here to shed a lot of light on this as it has become my favorite spec by far. It's called DN. And no, I do not mean
these nuts.
I'm speaking about Destro Nightfall. This is a newer build that is brought to light by the Warlock Discord, and at first I honestly thought it was a meme just to get people to ask what DN was so you can hit them with the
these nuts.
However, I was severely mistaken. This build, guys, is easily the most fun spec I've ever played, and it shines in heroics with a surprisingly strong single target as well. In mine and many others' opinion, this is the best heroic build in the game and one of the strongest rating builds. Before we get into too much detail, let me show you the build so you can get a picture of what the build looks like. And this is the build, guys. So the build functions around Destro and Nightfall, as you can imagine. You get Affliction, so you get your instant corruptions that are very powerful because of empowered corruption, and then you get Nightfall, which procs more frequently than I thought I was going to prop. So I put 2 points in to improve agony, but you can definitely put them in suppression. Bounce around your hit for suppression. That's completely up to you. It's mandatory you take improved drain soul only for the affliction threat reduction, especially because Seed of Corruption is once again a affliction spell, right? So you need to be able to have it pump as hard as you possibly can. Empowered corruption is amplified curse is amazing as well. This buffs up your agony and more importantly your dooms. This gives, look at it, 50% more damage on your curse of dooms. This is huge in raid. This is it's one of my favorite things about the spec, to be honest, in raids. Now on the Destro side, you get ISB for harder hitting shadow bolts, faster shadow bolts, even harder hitting crits, triple 1,000 majillion crits, and then of course threat reduction on all those shadow bolts, right? Which is amazing. What you do over here with the 2 and improved firebolt in raid scenarios, I use this because your imp actually does like 3 to like 400 DPS, right? Of your DPS. So if he lives, you gotta keep him up. That's the hard part. So I put 2 into here for rating. I put 2 into it. I swap that out for intensity if I'm doing dungeons, though, okay? And then of course you have Shadowburn for Shadowburn type stuff, which is you know, whatever you do Shadowburn for. You guys, I don't need to explain Shadowburn to you guys, but improved Immolate and Ember Storm as well. You guys know what that is. This allows you to keep up Immolate full time on your targets. Whether you do that in a heroic scenario is kind of up to you. Like if you kind of think of a pack of 5 and you have time pretty much to get dots on a few of them, right? And then you need to start seeding, Shadow Fearing, seeding, right? So I choose to put corruption up because it's instant and it's very, very powerful. In my gear right now, it's like 400, spell damage on my corruptions or some shit. So it's a big deal. So I prior that over Immolate. But on bosses, I keep up Immolate and corruption and agony full time in heroics. And on raid bosses, I keep up Doom or agony if I can't Doom, corruption and Immolate the whole time on those bosses as well. So these both just help that out, right? You have your backlash, which has a really cool thing where you get backlash and Nightfall. And before anybody asks, yes, you can get Nightfall procs and backlash procs at the same time. And no, if you cast a shadow bolt, it doesn't cast for both of them. You get 2 free shadow bolts. It's kind of bonkers. Rarely happens, but it bonkers. And couldn't flag for just pretty much a flex point. Nowhere else really to put this. If you wanted to, you can just make sure that if you have to move, you're above 75% mana or so. Don't life tap, and then can flag first before you shadow burn. All right, you can shadow burn if you want with the ISB up, but know that you're taking an ISB charge, so watch yourself. And of course, flame and shadow for the big bolts, man. So I love this build. This is the build right here, guys. I just wanted to show you it so you guys kind of get a picture of how the gameplay works. It works with putting up dots and spamming shadow bolts to getting some Nightfall procs, or in an AoE scenario, putting up dots, spamming seeds, and spamming that Shadow Fury on cooldown, all right? Back to the build. So now that you've seen the build, let's go into a little more detail, yeah? So as mentioned, this build is bonkers. It's phenomenal in heroics. You're able to have massive amounts of AoE with reduction of threat due to Imp Drain Soul, right? While being able to Shadow Fury, which is absolutely fucking bananas. It pops your Seed of Corruptions too, which is really nice. It's like a little bit more damage than a Shadow Burn, but on AoE and it stuns, it's amazing. Even on single target, Shadow Fury is 100% worth it. Granted, the mana cost is more hefty than your typical dots. It's like 710 mana or something like that, which can be crucial, but even it's still worth that. It's literally still worth Shadow Fury. It's so strong. And The best part is on a 20-second cooldown, so short. So once again, I was absolutely shocked at the strength of this build. Literally blown away to the point where I plan to raid 25 mans this week as D in it and really test the limits of this build. Now, speaking on the raiding part, I ran this last night in Karazhan with a pretty scuffed group solo tanking it, and it was still easily topping the meters and pumping hard. However, I wasn't really able to open it up. And I know that if I was able to open it up, I think this build can actually really pump. I dare say this is one of the best Kara builds out there. I actually kind of think it would be one of the Kara builds out there due to all the trash and being able to cover AoE and single target throughout the raid without swapping pets, without any worry, swapping gear, nothing. You have threat reduction as well on your Seeds of Corruptions and your Shadow Bolts. You get Ruin along with Shadow and Flame, Devastation, ISB, Bane, and all those talents I just showed that have your Shadow Bolts hitting hard, like extremely hard. And of course, let's not forget that you get Nightfall and Backlash. Backlash obviously isn't as big since it requires you to be in melee range, or to get melee, I'm sorry, but Nightfall on its own is magical. At first I was worried due to the past procs on Nightfall being kind of rather low. However, it feels like it procs quite often actually, and once again, I was shocked over it. So of course the ceiling for single target is even higher due to Nightfall. Lastly, you get improved and empowered corruption, which make your corruption not only instant, but super powerful. It is very powerful. This is one of the most slept on talents I like ever. This is one of the most slept on talents is empowered corruption. I love it. This build focuses on spreading your dots and either seeding or simply bolting your enemies down and shadow fearing. Around some packs, I'll emulate corruption all of them into seeds, shadow furies, or bolts. Some packs I just seed right away and pop it with the shadow fury and then go back to seeding. It's all up to you what you do. That's the best part of the build is there's so much different gameplay play styles that you can do with this build, and each of them pump hard. All in all, I love this build. Absolutely love this build. 90% of the time I'm playing this game, I'm actually playing as DN.
These nuts.
I mean Destro Nightfall. And I know at first glance you might think that it's a bad build, but I promise that if you try,
These nuts.
you will not be disappointed. Warlocks all over the world are already starting to play DN more and more. So jump in while it's hot and go test out your new favorite build, all right? Well guys, that's all for this spec series. I know that there's other builds out there. However, I don't think they're strong enough to be viable or mentioned. If others come up as we go, then of course I'll make a video on it immediately. In the meantime, the next series will be Warlock tips per boss per raid, going over positioning, rotations, and whatever else you guys need. That being said, if you guys have any ideas on Warlock guides that you'd like to see in the future, please send them in the comments, all right? Thank you so much for all your support, guys. Much love to my Warlock family, and I mean, exponentially thank you for all the support, guys. I would not be able to do this without you. I went from hating doing Warlock guides, I mean not Warlock guides, I hated doing YouTube videos to like now I love doing it. It's a lot more fun now, and I don't mind doing it, and I look forward to doing them now. Okay, so yeah, any other videos you guys want, hit me with some ideas, man. I can just do a quick little idea list, man. I got some. I want to do a spell ranking guide. I want to do what BiS. I need to do a phase 1 BiS right away. Obviously, I haven't done one yet. Been slacking on our Mackin on that one. We have the tier list. We have the tips for each boss by raid. I want to do them all, bro. I want to do them all, guys. I want to do every Warlock guide in the world, man. Just tell me what you guys want, and I'll get to it right away every day, man. I love you guys. Much fucking love. Peace.